And that's what true leaders do. We ask more questions. We ask permission to lead. We ask, where do you want to go? We ask what inspires you. We want to know you like red cars. We want to know what that feels like, because that's the part we will leverage to influence you to be your very best.
Welcome back, everybody, to Visionary Leader Podcast with Jim Robinson. I'm your co-host, Lori Prust. And we've got an amazing topic today, Jim. We're going to dig in. We're going to dig into your leadership style.
Yeah, let's do this thing, man. I think there's a lot to talk about today. I think there's some pretty cool topics that we can jump in today and maybe get the listeners to hear what this is about.
So the hardest thing you've had to unlearn as a leader. So I think my first question for you, tell me, Jim the leader, 25 to 30 years ago, what was your leadership style? Can you explain it?
My leadership style was always just kind of driven, right? And I just say driven, meaning I was the be, do, so I could have. And that's the magic formula in any career, by the way. It's be plus do equals have. If you want to have more, you got to do more, you got to be more. And so early on, I just figured I can just do things. And I would do a lot of things, but I wasn't being. And for me, I had to learn that I had to be present, but I had to be more than just a doer. And for me, because I had a lot of trade experience, I had a lot of knowledge of things, and I was just like, I could just go do that. And so having to unlearn, just don't go do everything, but now you got to be something, and you had to be present. You had to be a leader. You had to become that person you wanted others to follow. And that was a journey. That was for sure. That was hard, because having to give up, like looking at every invoice, looking at every description of work tasks, etc. I scrutinized, I read, I looked at everything. So I was busy doing instead of being.
So you, thank you for that. So you wrote a book, partnered with Chris Voss, right?
Yeah.
Is it Leading with Empathy? Am I saying that right?
Leading with Empathy. And by the way, I got the notice yesterday that we hit number 1 on Amazon's bestseller list.
Awesome.
And so been a lot of hype around the office last couple of days. And we hit like 7 or 8 other categories that Amazon has. And it's like their top 100. So we placed 36 in leadership. We placed 18 in entrepreneurship. There's all these different categories, and our book hit a lot of those categories. So pretty exciting around the office.
Yeah, celebrate.
Yeah.
So that's leading me into a question. So Jim, 25, 30 years ago, what was your style of leading people? What was it?
You know, my style of leading has always been inspirational. And I say that not in a bragging way, because I didn't quite understand it really. But I would easily inspire people to become their best. And I didn't really pick up on that. It took me a little while. And I say your discovery of leadership really isn't until 25 or 30, at least my generation. Today, it's a little bit different. But it took me a minute to figure out that I was inspirational or impactful. And then I had to make sure that I wasn't abusing those things, meaning leveraging them to make somebody get where they needed to be, but not where they wanted to be. And so I had to be very intentional about how that would work. But I was always the inspiration guy, even in school. I was that kid that other people would gravitate to, probably for inspiration, but a shoulder maybe. So it was literally, I was always that openness that people trusted, like they just come to me. And so I don't know, probably 25-ish is when I like, wow. Then I had to learn all that stuff. By then I'd already psychology, law, etc. That was my studies. And I started to figure out what that part really was. through the educational journey. And I'm like, whoa, I always said I had a moral responsibility at that point because now I know. So now it's a moral thing that I'm like, whoa, you got to really truly manage yourself to help others become their best, to help them become their best in their pattern, not on mine. And so I remember early in a career, I would be asked, how are you keeping employees? Like, how are you keeping them?
Right.
And even today, I have tenured employees who've been with me 30 plus years, a lot of them. And it's because I've helped them become their best in their role, not on their next level or a level I predetermined, but help them be their very best. I have people in the field still doing trades in their 60s, 70s, and they are their best at what they do without having to become managers, etc. So that was really influential and inspirational. I had to figure that out. I had to know that that was okay.
So if you think about your style, I know you're direct, right, Jim? Is that correct? Like you have more of a
I am direct.
style on this.
I can be direct.
You can't. Yeah. Yes. So when I want to go down that path a little bit then you pair that with empathy. When did you learn I need to be empathetic, and what did that journey look like for you?
I think my early years as a homeless kid, I was homeless for a while because I was a rebellious teen. And so I ended up living on the streets for a few weeks. And all of those things that I learned over the years was making me empathetic because I could relate to different things that a lot of people, in my opinion, just didn't yet. They hadn't been exposed to all of the potentially nasty, negative things that people say happened to me. And I say they happened for me to help me become empathetic. And when you can feel those things in the book, Lead with Empathy, I even wrote a story about one of our employees that we used to justify an employee's behavior just saying, that's him. And she's like, I'm tired of hearing that it's just him. I feel threatened by him. And I'm like, wow. That was such an eye-opening thing. And I tell the story in what I wrote in Lead with Empathy. It's because it was really an empathetic moment that she had to say those things that I'm like, wow, I felt what she was going through. And I was dismissive of that. And that was this very self-centered thing because I was trying to find the easiest way for me to cope with what was happening. And so that discovery was really eye-opening. So early on, I would say empathy, because of my youth experiences, losing animals, horses, cats, dogs, rabbits, losing a house to a fire, having a father that was a minister, being around all the people that he would counsel. I've seen a lot of things over my early years. And because of that, I've been to exposed to a lot of life challenges. And so I can relate to virtually anything. And I feel what people are going through in those moments.
Thanks, Jim. Do you think there was ever a time in your leadership where direct was the way to go? I think I should be direct because that's what leaders are. Did you ever have that thought? I feel like that's out there in the world, in the ethos.
Yeah.
To be a leader, I need to be this and stern and direct, and especially for women. I think there's an idea that we have to be this way. Did you ever think that way or have to shift because you were too direct?
No, I think for me that I've always been direct, but not to confuse that with being demeaning, belittling, condescension. None of that crossed my mind. Not that I've been without those weak moments, for sure. I could be an idiot too back then. I'm sure you're going to be today, even, quite frankly. But being direct it shouldn't ever be confusing. And I tell everybody, like when I coach and I mentor people, I tell them I'm going to be very direct. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to teach you before I teach it, so you understand the journey I'm going to take you on. So I'm always very direct, but I'm also simultaneously very open about how I'm doing what I'm doing. I'll tell you. I'll give you little tidbits. I said, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to attach to you emotionally for a minute, and we're going to go on a journey. And I'll even tell people, put your seatbelt on. I'm about to take you on a ride. And so I'm still very direct in things like that. And even corrective behavior things. I'm very direct, but I'll tell you what I perceive as the weakness. I'm going to help you find the recovery. and I'm going to find a way to help you get there. But I tell you all that up front, and then I address it. So I'm still very direct. I hope to not be demeaning. Sometimes I hurt feelings, but that's not me doing that. That's the individual having hurt feelings because they discovered their own true weakness or their moment, lack of judgment in some cases. So that's a discovery for the individual, not mine. But I still am very direct. I just do it empathetically and make sure that I'm not hurting feelings on that journey.
Yeah. That's so good. Just the balance of empathy and direct and just not understand. So I'm sitting here processing your thought or your words about direct doesn't mean bad. And I think gotten that connotation. I really do. I've been in technology for over 30 years and I've seen great leaders, the ones that know direct is very helpful, clear is kind, right? Like that.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. But then those that also abuse it or don't have the ability to have the emotional balance, the emotional awareness. So you had said maybe somebody got offended or maybe somebody got upset by something you triggered by being direct.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? So they get mad, close up, what do you do?
Yeah, that's just personality characteristics. There's certain personality characteristics that are grudgeful. They hold a grudge. They take it out usually on their managers first, owners are second. They'll go on the target, and the trigger, as we call them, as of the last 10 years, we say we triggered somebody or somebody got triggered. You're triggering yourself. There's zero power that I have to trigger an individual. If I say, you failed to put the door in correctly and they go into meltdown, that's their trigger. That has zero to do with me. And so I don't ever take that stuff personally. And I see a trigger for what it is. It's the weakness of the individual that was triggered. And that trigger, we can air quote that trigger is really something they're going through or went through or still experiencing. And that's a self-threat. It's got zero to do with the person that's being direct to them. I'm not a trigger person. I don't have the magic wand. I can just go around triggering people. That would be very odd and weird in the world. But there's an entire generation, a whole society that, blames everybody else for being triggered. And the reality is they haven't been corrected, maybe not corrected properly. And so they're putting themselves in check. So they get triggered. So they get angry. They hold a grudge. They do all kinds of weird stuff. But that's got zero to do with their leader. Zero.
So interesting too. When you think of you being direct, I've been on the opposite end where I'm not direct enough, more emotional, more lean into the conflict, but it's also some perceptions people have just about your personality that they might put into play about how you're going to lead or what you think you need to be. I was just thinking about the different people who all were wired so differently. What does good leading look like to you? I'm can you talk about that? So I'm so different from you, but it doesn't mean I'm any less of a leader. I'm more emotional. So I've got to work on being direct, concise, to the point, and make a decision. That's harder for an emotional person. I am just curious for the person that doesn't look like the leader in the world. And what do you have to say to them about becoming a good leader? What can they look to there?
So I think early on, you develop some skill sets from youth right on through. Depends on who you're around as a youth. And this could be 5 years old and up. It could be grandparents, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, cousins. It could be anybody. And because of their experiences, they're impacting and influencing you. And that's really leadership, is impact and influence. However you're impacting or influencing others, that's a gift of leadership. And as long as it's not being sugared or played down, then it truly is influential and impactful. I was listening to somebody recently, and I hate to say this, but I don't remember the name of the impact. So we know emotional involvement in anything creates an opportunity for change. And I was listening to this guy. This is just literally within the last 2 or 3 weeks here. And he was talking about, might have been Darren Hardy, but he says that applying for a new job is an emotional event. And you're open to transformative things just by that alone. And I'm like, wow, I've been so dismissive of that because I've been self-employed for almost 42 years. It's literally, I've never paid attention to that, because I always say, somebody that has a history of jumping jobs nonstop, and they come to us, and managers are usually like, okay, we're looking for loyalty.
Right.
This person doesn't have a commitment. And I'm like, hold on. We may be the difference out of all of those other 10 employers or 5 employers. We may be that change that they needed. Like, we can impact and influence because we're true leaders, that we're intentional about that. And so some people are born with some of those things early on. You have some of those characteristics developed because you're around leaders, you're around people that are impacting and influencing. And if so, then you develop those characteristics early. And then it's your moral responsibility to refine those skill sets, those opportunities. You got to refine those in your early 20s as soon as you figure this out, but you got to refine them. And now you have an obligation to use them. You have an obligation to use them because that's what you've been taught. That's what you've learned. To be dismissive of that and become something less would never be morally acceptable to you or anybody else. It's literally, you have to capitalize on what you've learned.
The moral obligation, I feel like when you become responsible. Like,
Yeah.
I learned this. Now I know.
Yeah.
Right? So what am I going to do with it? I have this new thing I'm actually aware of now. It's not subconscious. It's not. So that's what you're saying, right, Jim? So now I need to do something with this knowledge, right?
Well, think of it even differently. Like, people that kind of walk around, want to, kind of kick stones as they walk, right? They drag their feet, kick can down the street. Those people have skill sets they're suppressing. Those people, we've hired them. We've worked with them. We've seen them drag their feet. We've seen them kind of walk lazily, as I call it. It's literally, those people have learned a lot of skills they've been dismissive of, and it creates a hardship, a pain, that they literally drag their feet walking down the street. They move slower, they talk slower, they look for dismissive behaviors, they engage in dismissive behaviors. And we've seen all those people. It's literally when they start to do that self-discovery of, wow, I learned all these skills.
Yeah.
Now it's game time, man. It's time to play in the real world. I'm not triggered. I'm not depressed. I'm not despaired. I don't have the blues. I'm aware, and it's freaking game time.
Bro, that's the best, is aware. There's nothing like being aware. It's also, like you said, there's a strong accountability that comes with it. You have to be responsible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything starts with awareness. You said earlier on while we were talking, leading self. You said it in a different way, but that's becoming aware, right, Jim? So you're lead yourself, you become aware, and then you can see how you're impacting other people, how you're leading. Am I too direct? Am I not decisive? I think it all starts with that awareness, right?
Yeah. Self-awareness is critical. I've told this story a million times, but my wife and I, Christy, we had one of those spousal heated conversations.
What?
and I told her early on, don't ever say you're like your father. Yeah. And I'm like, if you ever say that to me, I just get rid of you, because there's a few other women in the world that I could just go marry somebody else and keep this real simple. And we in that moment, she's like, you're just like your father. Oh. And of course, I had to take the evening to think about that. No sleep, of course, I'm stressed. And I get up the next morning, and this was at 23 years old, by the way. And I went to my wife, Christy, and I just said, you're 100% right. And today's the day that I change everything. And so I knew in that moment, I had to capitalize on the gifts that I had been given, and I had to suppress the negative things that I was taught and make sure those were diminished, but the gifts were enhanced tenfold. That I literally had an obligation to do that for not only my home, but I had already been in business for 4 years and I was failing. And so I had to capitalize on that for the people that were wanting to work with me, and I was failing them. And so in that moment, that humility, they say, eat crow. I had to eat crow. And I literally had to say, whoa, you're spot on. And I did become him. And he was a truly gifted man. And I've said many times, he was my hero because of the giftedness he gave me. Not because of the crappy situations I had, because it's all perception as a child, but because of the giftedness he gave me. It has allowed me to impact thousands of others because of that.
Yeah.
And so at 23 years old, that was my awakening. That was literally my moment. My self-awareness started to shift because I literally, like every kid at 19 that starts a business, we're just going to go be in business and be millionaires, and this is great. And that is such a fallacy to believe that. And you have to be self-aware to figure out what's next.
Yeah.
And so there is a journey. There is an emotional journey.
So something you said that's so important, go Christy, but go Jim,
Yeah.
right? Like she was courageous and then you were humble enough, you paused. Such an important thing is to pause. And you said you went and thought and mad and like whatever, and then came to realization of, oh, there's something here.
Yeah.
So I think that
she was spot on. She said it out of anger, but it provoked thought. And that thought created a better journey for her and I.
wow.
And ultimately, I became a better husband, my opinion. I became I became a very different person because I was really self-aware of who I was actually becoming in my older years. I was becoming that person she accused me of, and I didn't want to be that.
Right.
I only wanted to be the good things that I got from my father.
Right. So self-awareness is so important. And one of the ways we can get it is the people, you just said it, it's the people who are closest to us. What are some signals and things someone can watch for if their leadership is not succeeding, it's failing, or it's becoming detrimental to their career, the people around them? What do they look for? What do they do? What's a sign?
Well, for us promoting leaders around my offices is we always say you have to ask for permission to lead. You have to ask, will you follow me? Can I trust you to trust me? Will you trust me to take you on this journey? Do you see yourself going from A to C? Or do you see it or enhancing A, just being the best at A? But you have to ask for permission to lead, not manage, because you're just saying, here's the process and the systems, let's go, we're going this direction. But to lead somebody, you have to be one, you've had to have mastered following, because as leaders, we truly have to follow. And it's a two-way street when we're talking to our employees and we say, listen, I want to lead you. And I'm the first to tell you if I don't believe I'm able to lead you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go all in. And if I feel at some point I'm not able to lead you, I will ask permission again. And if we get to some agreement, because I'll say, can I count on you? Can I count on you to grow? And if they say yes, then I hold them accountable to that. And then at some point, if we have to part ways, I just say, I'm sorry, I failed you as a leader. This is on me. And so there's some big accountability in the leadership responsibility, but there's ownership in that. But if you're going to lead somebody, you better ask, and then ask what you can do better, because they're the first ones to tell you, man, I need this, I need that, I need, whatever it is. I need you to be more open. I need you to hear me differently. And it's all just character, right? It's all personality things, and no two of us are alike. But if you're really got that moral responsibility to be the leader, the impact and the influence, you better do it in the most positive way, not without correction, but with correction in the most positive way. And then keep asking, am I your leader? Can I lead you? Will you allow me to take you on this journey? And as long as you're asking, you're going to get the yes, and you're going to have a joint conversation, because now there's a partnership in the effort.
I have not heard. I have always, so as you're talking, I'm thinking, as a leader, we display our actions that show we're leading, but you're actually stepping in with words to say, instead of making an assumption, may I offer, may I lead? Like, is this something we are okay to do together and have that conversation? I think that's really impactful.
I think if you ask, one, it's a mental change for the individual. Yeah. They think very differently once you put those thoughts in their mind that they need to be led. And in a group of leaders, I met Condoleezza Rice one time, and there were 40 of us, all men, by the way, 40 of us in the room, and Condoleezza walks in, and on TV with the presidency and all the stuff she was involved in, she was bigger than life to me, like bigger than life. Like she's a 7-foot powerhouse of a female. And she walked in at, 5'7", and there was 40 leaders in the room. And in that moment, there was truly one leader, and it was Condoleezza Rice. One leader. And I watched 40 powerful leaders, all business owners, all entrepreneurial by nature. I watched them like little whip puppy dogs in a moment because Condoleezza Rice entered the building. Eventually, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it was, we all came back around and we were a group of leaders. Now there were 41 of us. And everybody was a leader in that room. But there was nobody overpowering, nobody over-influencing. We were all inquisitive. We were asking better questions, so we became better in those moments. And that's what true leaders do. We ask more questions. We ask permission to lead. We ask, where do you want to go? We ask what inspires you. We want to know you like red cars. We want to know what that feels like, because that's the part we will leverage to influence you to be your very best. Condoleezza Rice came in and helped all of us leaders be our best in those moments. We were humbled for a moment when she entered the room, and then all of a sudden we were like, whoa, this is freaking cool. We get to ask that leader some really cool questions. She's a master of Russia, by the way, Putin specifically, and that was a lot of our content and inquiries. She studied literally Putin her whole life. She knows him better than he knows himself.
Wow.
And so it was great conversation, but that was a bunch of leaders together, and leaders ask questions, and we follow really well. Leaders follow well, and then they use inspiration to impact and make sure that we're doing what's right by others.
That's a really cool story, Jim. What do you say to the person, and we can end kind of on this note, that is in an environment and culture that does not support what we're talking about? The way leading looks is harsh and critical and maybe demeaning, and that's what's rewarded. What advice do you have for them?
Wow. One, probably no peace or solace in this, but it'll be short-lived. Leaders, if we say leaders are being that way, leaders that are abusive, they will have to change positions frequently. They'll go through a lot of career changes. The hierarchy, if you will, of that won't tolerate it. It's damning to a business. The business will suffer immensely. Productivity is at mediocrity at best in those scenarios. So the best I have is that it will be short-lived. If that person has a confidant, somebody on the team, somebody that's willing to sacrifice to have that very candid conversation with the perceived leader, is you got to call them out.
Right.
Say, you're being like a bully, you're being dismissive, you're not inclusive, whatever the challenges are, but you need to call them out. Not because you're in disagreement with them, but that you have 20 people on your team and all 20 are in agreement that this guy's a jerk or this person is a jerk. Then be the fault person. Go take and have that conversation. Be very frank and candid with them. Somebody's got to light them up. I remember when I was probably 20, and I had a very good friend of mine, broker, still a very good friend of mine, John, by the way, he's still around. Goes to the office every day at 85 years old. And he's just a powerhouse of a man, a great mentor. And he came to me and he says, Jim, are you happy? And it sent me on this journey to figure out, why do I always not look happy? And so my discovery in that even was that this is a whole nother podcast, but we have to be in the same state that we learned in to use what we learned. We have to be in the same state to use what we learned. Otherwise, we can't use it. It's just a bunch of stuff that we have that we can't tap into. I learn in a very, very somber, very focused way. And so when I have to tap into that content, I got to go back to that very serious state And so he was perceiving I wasn't happy at the time.
So interesting.
And so it made me incredibly self-aware that people may perceive me as unhappy because I'm so focused.
Yep.
And that can be a threat. And so I had to soften that. And when I pull stuff out, I have to pull it out, get it ready to use, but then I have to be happier when I arrive. And so it was literally quite the journey. I think it was probably 2021 when that happened. And I'm like, what's his problem?
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
What a jerk.
I'm so happy right now.
I'm so happy. You don't even know. And he happened to catch me because I was building business, of course, but I was working 24 hours a day and I slept every other night because I'm a 24-hour operation. From birth, our company was founded on 24 hours and I was the guy. So I would work every other night, all night. And then I would sleep every other night for 4 or 5 hours. And so it took a toll on me. Well, he saw that it was taking that toll. And he says, "Are you happy?" And I'm like, "I'm a really happy guy, but good Lord, I'm exhausted."
Yeah.
And so it did come across as though I was unhappy. And I'm like, whoa. And then so I learned later that, the state you learn in is the state you got to be in to use what you learned. And so I'm always in that very focused state. But now I'm more in tune with making sure I come across in a better demeanor than I'm just laser focused. And
you just got to smile, Jim. Big smiles all around.
That's what Christy tells me, and I'm just like, man, I'm smiling inside. You just got to look a little bit. It's in there. It's in the tank, man. It's in the tank.
Oh, that's funny. That's so funny. This has been a really fun episode. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts and the different types of leaders and being self-aware. I think is such a big nugget of this that I know I took away. It's so important, and use the people around you that you trust to help you become.
Yeah, and to develop trust, like early leadership. This is almost cheating. You guys need to pay attention.
Where's your notebook?
Almost cheating. Get your notebook. Get your pen ready. If you do more of serving for nothing, no financial gain, people will trust you instantly. And another life lessons, because I've always donated my time to the less fortunate because I was a less fortunate. And people helped me. And I've talked about, and I mention them when I speak in groups. I talk about all those people that mentored me because they seen what I was going through. They were empathetic to me. And so by giving to me, I developed trust in them. And so that's cheating, but you can go give with no strings attached, and it'll develop trust among your team very quickly. I encourage my team, join committees, join whatever you need. Right now, we have some people that are on boards of companies because of the amount of trust it develops instantly, not only to the companies they're serving on their boards, but in our internal organization, all of our people develop an instant trust for these people as well. Yeah. And so it makes it much easier to lead when you're a trusted person. But if you give unconditionally, no strings attached, this is the Christmas card. Send the Christmas card, no strings. Don't take them off your Christmas list just because you didn't get a card back. That's given with strings attached. Don't do that. Give freely. You give freely, you'll have abundance in return. That's the key to
that's a heart exercise too, right, Jim? I mean, that's definitely a heart exercise, and to take that action will teach you so much about yourself.
Oh, it teaches you so much, and then others will get around you and teach you even more. Your circle becomes really, really powerful.
I'm teaching at Free to Fly again in Cleveland, teaching a program on self-worth. And it is lovely. I'm learning. I'm learning to listen. I'm learning the stories. I'm learning the struggles. And we're all the same. They've struggled. I've struggled in different ways. And it is giving is a sacrifice. But it really is good to get out and do it and challenge yourself, right?
We've all struggled the same way, the same thing, right? We wrecked a car. That's still just a wrecked car. Right. The perception of what we put behind what we've went through or what we experienced is the difference. We still all just wrecked a car. So it's just a car. But our perception of how we see things is all completely different. And that's the part we get to lead through.
So good. Jim, congratulations on the book. Number one on Amazon. Everybody check it out. Right?
Got to check it out. Click on Amazon. Go find it. Leading
Yep.
with Empathy.
Yeah. All right.
My
And
copies are arriving here any day. I'm going to start sending them. Sign them and send them, man. Sign them and send them.
sounds great, Jim. So until next time, come back, see us again, and thank you for the time. Jim, value bombs all around.
Lots of value bombs. Come back. Leadership lessons right here. Hard lessons learned by us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll teach you what we know.
All right. Until next time.